Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone-Faced Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Macross 7. But before anything else, we have a couple of comments. And we are so far ahead on the Patreon. You're going to find that out now with, first off, Michael Connor from SDF Macross, Kung Fu Dandy. On the subject of Southern Cross, here in the States, it was the second leg of Robotech. It is bad. Very bad. It is bad in its original anime form. The best part about Southern Cross are the tanks, which look really cool. For a great anime, the third leg of Robotech, the original Mospita, is great. More a guerrilla war style rather than a space opera, Macross is. I haven't watched much Orgus. What I saw was decent.
I mean, I remember Southern Cross being fine for what it was, but it's the middle child that is in Robotech trying to bridge everything together. And even in the Japanese version, it clearly was just sort of filler anime. Like, oh yeah, we need to make a show, so here's a show, right? It didn't have anything that made it stand up. In the original anime, basically, the humans have colonized a planet called Glory. They call Glory. Uh, and the people who used to live there were out in space and returned the planet back. So that's what the whole conflict is about, basically. So it's pretty straightforward, right?
So just I guess as an acknowledgement of the fact that yes, I do see it, audience. You did the whole freezing up and then caught back up to yourself thing. Anyway, I don't know. All I've heard is that it's bad, very bad. I mean, I have read about what Southern Cross is before this. I think we had a conversation before. Not maybe not on recording, but like between ourselves about the idea of the three different properties that Super Dimension had.
Mhm.
But otherwise, I think we came up with about the same conversations we had just here in your description. That
Mhm.
one of them looked a lot better than the rest. One of them that wasn't Macross. I mean, obviously we didn't put Macross into that whole discussion.
Yeah, Super Dimensional Century Orgus. I saw the first episode, so I got the gist of what the setup was. It's basically this mech gets sent into the future, I think it is, and
Yeah,
after a war, and that was it. I didn't watch a lot of it.
it becomes like a Gundam type of thing. Actually, I guess it would be kind of
Mm.
like Turn A Gundam. Anyway, next up we have Ushiga from also Kung Fu Dandy. The world knows the Macross as a big ship. The Macross that is in the water is a giant robot. The people on Earth might not jump to the conclusion that they are the same thing. The rest of your points certainly seem valid, which is all I can ask for my points to be.
Yeah, I guess so. But I
I
mean,
mean,
but once it started floating, well, in later episodes, when it starts floating above cities and saying, "We are the Macross," it's like, oh, that's the Macross. Okay.
well, yeah, I mean, probably mean the first time it comes down on Earth and sits in the middle of the ocean. Because to be fair, they only discuss the ability to transform when it's in transit back to Earth, so yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I guess that is a counter to anything I may have said, because I assume that's me who's arguing from the past. But yeah, those are all of our comments so far. How about you go and recap what happened last episode?
Last episode we had a fight in a casino, basically. Um, the Firebomber band gets a job in a casino, sort of part of a sort of rotating band thing. So everybody would have one spot, and so it's again it's kind of like this competition, these competitions that they keep going up to. Meanwhile, the leader of Diamond Squadron detects a strange shuttle um, that apparently doesn't act like a shuttle at all, and follows him back into this casino ship that looks like a riverine paddle boat. Um, and between him and Basara, they discovered infiltrators. At least one of them manages to steal the spiritual of a musician, and that's what they were going for. So again, the enemy attack, and again they capture this. They take whatever they were getting from the Spiritia, and Basara once again is forced to use deadly force to protect someone else's life, and gets wounded for it, I believe. Oh no, that was in the last episode. I don't remember if it's in this episode, last episode, when he gets
Last
wounded in the
episode.
arm.
Well,
Yeah.
remember, it's
Uh,
not the tree getting shot in the arm that hurts him. There's something else that hurts him.
uh,
I can't remember what it is. Like he
I think
gets
he got banged up in the
shrapnel or
cockpit. Yeah, he gets banged up in the cockpit somehow and gets wounded. Um, and it is also there where Mylene discovers who this guy is. Gemlin, I think his name is. He's not that memorable. Who we have heard before. Her mother is trying to set him up with.
Gamel's
So
like
he
the
also,
second best character of the show. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
he gets wounded in combat, and that's the reason why Basara uses deadly force to try to protect him. Doesn't actually kill anybody, but he does knock out the main bad guy's mech by blowing his leg off. And when he's recovering in the hospital, Mylene goes to visit him. Like, oh wow, this guy actually is brave and stands for something
Well,
like Basara,
technically,
who,
I don't know if we discussed it at the time. She's wearing the dress her mother sent her, but when she see
yeah,
her mow down the guy in the hallway, says, "Just throw it in the room. I gotta run."
yeah.
And the time that she meets him is actually the time that they were supposed to meet up before. That Gamlin
Mhm.
is currently in the process of saying, "I'm sorry, I can't make the meeting. I'm in the hospital." That
Hospital,
she
yeah.
shows up to meet him at the hospital instead of putting it
Yeah,
off.
Gamblin comes up as being more reasonable here. He's trying to find out where Basara comes from and where his mech comes from, mecha. So he seems a little obsessed with that at first. But when things start going down, for example, when the attack happens on the musician, Basara just tries to go after the guy who did it. But Gamblin's like, no, we have a wounded person here. We have to take care of this person first, right? Which I think is what really hits with Mylene. Yeah.
Technically, Gamblin actually stops Basara from going after the guy and says, "Answer me these questions about your history.
No,
What's
but
your
that happens
relationship
after.
with him?" No, it's literally guy shoots the guy in the back of the head, takes his musician spiritua.
Runs
Basara
off.
runs after the guy. He stays and says, "Lock down the place," etc., etc. He takes control of the situation, but then he runs after Basara, who's running after the guy, and says,
Yeah, but
"Stop and answer me these questions." He
yes,
actively
yes.
hinders Basara's efforts to find the guy.
But in the moment when the attack happens and the guy falls down and both of them run forward, Basara just goes after the guy.
Yeah,
And Gambling actually stops for a second. And Mylene sees that. When he sees it, like, oh, what? This is the guy, right? He leans over the guy who had been taken out, right?
just like my boyfriend Tucker.
And he was like, oh, and he calls and says, oh, lock this place down, whatever. And they started the evacuation. And something I jumped up to was that they started evacuating the ship in these egg-shaped escape pods that can carry like 20 people in them. And of course, the enemy decides to, you know, try to harvest more spiritual, because now we know that that's what they're doing. They're harvesting the spiritual, whatever it is. And also that the main bad guy was Lord such and such, was looking specifically for a musician spiritia. So I don't know why. We I'm sure people who know about the series know that the enemy has a name, but I'm saying the enemy because we haven't got them to, on the show. They haven't been named as such. So I think I know what the name is, but until they are officially named, I will simply call them the enemy.
Okay. Well, next up, update to the board. Of course, mostly names, but also we have the biker girls we were introduced to. The other member of the D squad. I think otherwise just directional markers on the antagonists. Two bad guy. Oh, also the doctor got named. Don't think anything else is immediately jumping out at me unless whenever you sign in, you notice anything I may have missed.
See, it's loading up right now.
Yep, I see your mouse. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's still a bunch of people yet to be named as well. And otherwise, this is just my voice filling in dead air.
Oh, Flower Girl still is there, and like every single time she gets bumped off by somebody and completely ignored.
Most people use that
Uh
phrase to mean dead.
no, literally, in this case, that people bump into her and just keep on going. So, let's see, where is gambling? Kisaki. Kisaki. Kiryu? Kinryu. Not Kiryu, Kinryu. There's an N in it. I don't know if you actually say Kiryu or Kinryu. Oh, he's member of the squadron as well, which they got replacements for the people they
That's why they got the
lost.
separate green line that connects them all together.
Yeah. In fact, Gambling is not even the leader of the squadron. I think Kinryu is actually the leader, the way he speaks,
Yep.
right? And also, Gambling pushed on. He tried to get information from Max, but he said, "No, that's none of your business. Carry on." It's like, "Oh, okay, sure." Hmm. But to be fair, it's because Gambling, or part of it is because Gambling spots the shuttle and keeps on investigating because he's supposed to have these days off. Like, oh, I have a couple of days off, so I guess I'll investigate by myself. And he goes in and try to investigate, and then I think a lot of stuff happens. Had it being anybody else, is like, I don't care, No, my circus, no, my circus, no, my monkeys. But he was like, no, I have to
Well,
find
the
out
other
what
people
the
were,
bad guy.
sending in the data from their test flight.
Hmm.
Anything else on the board?
No. Oh, there was the test data on the because they were upgrading their special diamond mechs, uh,
Yep. I mean, that's
stealth
not the
fighter
board, but
things.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Other than that, then, I mean, unless you have any other thoughts, I still have. I got a whole Theta thoughts thing to go through. So, you have any other thing
Okay.
you want to throw out?
Nope.
Okay. You'd mentioned before that you didn't like how space was colored in this show. The opening lyrics actually comment about the purple panorama of the Galaxy Highway. Um, Speaking of the opening, a ghost hand reaches out for Basara as he lays in the grass staring at the sky. If not for the fact she keeps getting bumped into by people, I'd still be thinking Flower Girl is dead and is some sort of reminder of Basara's past and the reason he's a pacifist and doesn't want to fight. It's either that or the flowers aren't for Basara, but are for him to bring to a grave at some point. I don't know.
I mean, she doesn't say any. I think she spoke one word in a couple of episodes back, like "oh," like she even it was a word like "oh," like "oh yeah," she
I
can
don't think
speak.
she
That
actually
was about it.
has. I think again, it's more so if not for the fact she keeps getting bumped into, but the fact that
Mhm.
nobody addresses her presence. They bump into her, but don't look at her. They don't care what they just bumped into. It feels like a real, I don't know, Beetlejuice moment to me. It's like nobody cares. Feels like
Yeah,
she's
something about something.
I'm riding this she's dead line until somebody talks to her. Let's see. Something of note from the vampire episode. Everyone that we saw getting assaulted by the infiltrators were listening to Firebomber at the time. One on TV, one on the radio, and one was just around a corner from the concert. We know they are after Spiritia, and I made the comment before that Docker heard Basara sing after he got hit by their sampling laser and managed to move a bit when he did, which is more responsive than anyone else has given after being hit by the beam. I think that is a sign that the music has some sort of effect on Spiritia. Maybe it rejuvenates it, whatever it is, which is how Docker was able to move. And the girls get targeted because they had more than normal for having listened to the music. Hell, one of the lyrics of Basar's song that he sings during the fights is "Listen to my song and regain your power." Giggle also seems to imply that having spiritual energy is something different than normal, like the fact that we have it means that they do not.
Yes, so
All right, well, that was the read on the music because I think I bring it up every time we record. Something about the fact that Basara's song does something to people.
I mean, it does apparently, but I
But
mean that's kind of the frustrating thing. We don't see doesn't seem very clear, right? It's like, oh, it does something, 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 but it's not like
I mean, I got
this
more on
happens
that.
and then this.
I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, it's a rejuvenating factor. Like I said, it seems to empower people's spiritual. We just don't know what spiritual does.
or is.
Um, when the infiltrators in the vampire episode were scanning Basara, they said that the high spiritual level were caused by fear. In a later episode, Giggle talks about collecting spiritual samples as they bloom with terror. I'm sorry, when they are reading Basara's spiritual at the time, and this was when he was pulling Mylena along behind him to protect her from the vampires. I'm in the headspace of tying Flower Girl to Basara in my own headcanon narrative. So I have to put it into the framework of Basara has lost someone before. If he has great fear right then it is from the fear of losing somebody else, right?
Maybe because he seems to one of the kind of person that doesn't get barely touched by anybody.
Well, he never seems afraid, but if they're saying that high spiritua is the result of fear or rising terror, as Giggle says, then if they're reading Basara running away and pulling Mylene behind him, and they're reading that he's got high spiritua, that means he's afraid. So I can only assume that's the fear of losing somebody, i.e., losing Mylene, to this attack. And then again, I just tied it into the Flower Girl
But
again
it
for some
seems
reason.
spiritual. It just seems to be like high emotional content. Like if you're in battle, like you're afraid, if you're moved by the music, right? It,
They
you
said
know,
terror, terror and fear.
I mean, yeah, that might be one of the indicators, right? If you have
Maybe
very
this
strong
is
emotions,
maybe this is
you
the
know,
tie-in between Macross and Monsters Inc.
uh, but I think it's
That was a good
not
joke in my head.
what I'm thinking. Yeah, I know. It's it's I don't I think the reason why you would say terror is, and this I'm extrapolating, I guess, so I could be wrong. Probably am. Um, it's a very intense base emotion, and that's why it's high terror. So if you scare somebody, you get high energy. But if you excite them, many ways to excite emotions. Like for music, it's like, oh, you get the same thing. It's like when Basara is out, trying to sing to the bad guys and to everyone else, he seems to have high spirit as well. It's like, oh, it's off the charts. Blah blah. I can't really see,
Well, actually, they say it's
read.
strange.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
can't
just
really
say it's
read it.
high;
Yeah,
they say it's a strange spiritual.
yeah. So there's that.
Okay. Do you think Fulmo's perch thing is a brain scan unit like from Macross Plus? That he's connected to the Macross 7 like Bowman was to the YF-21? Essentially, he's not just Max's advisor, but ship's computer and sensors and the like.
Could be, because it's very odd that he's in full size, and they're leaning on his Do you remember love design as opposed to
Because
his
he's also
SCF-1
got the
design.
dome thing that kind of
Yeah,
branches off to the side.
yeah. And do you remember love the but both sides, but particularly the Centrati, and he in particular was seeing very cybernetic, right? That he's control like he was controlling these little arms
Well,
and
Gold was
manipulating
also
things.
head on the ship, right? So,
Yeah. So yeah, as opposed to what they were in the series, which is just giants, and he would have a full head of red hair, and he would just walk around, and people would manipulate controls normally with their hands. So I mean, I know why they did in Do You Remember Love. They wanted to have that sort of alien, both in universe and out of universe. But now they embraced it, so it's like, oh, they like the idea, so we're keeping it, right?
alright. I guess something else of note, it's been 5 years and all the fighter craft that we've seen haven't folded anywhere on their own yet. The whole program at New Edwards 5 years back was to develop a fighter that could fold in and out of an engagement. We got a YF-19 that Basara is piloting, but even it doesn't fold in and out of its own engagements.
Well, the way it happened in Macross Plus is with a fold module, like they had like these
Right,
extra
right, but
things, so
you were
we don't
saying
see
that
any.
that was temporary, is what you were
Yeah, that was
implying
about.
back then.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a interim modification. Uh, but I don't know. Maybe they never figured out how to do it without it, right?
I don't
Just
know.
because they were experimenting. I mean, that's the thing about New Edwards. New Edwards Base is based on Edwards Air Force Base, which is an experimental, most it's a test pilot area for the Air Force. That and Groom Lake, which is Area 51, even secret projects. Just because they're experimenting on something doesn't mean they actually managed to figure it out, right?
Well, that was my implication. It's been 5 years and we didn't get anywhere with this thing, other than the fact we got a YF-19 flying around.
Yeah.
Shot in the dark here, more so than any of my other theories. I told you before that the infiltrators wore the spiritual laser shooting thing like masks over their mouths, right?
Mhm.
Well, our little biker gang only showed up after the infiltrators did. Colette's voice actor was hidden from us for some reason as well. What if Rex kissed Basara as a means of sampling his spiritua? That the mouth mounted lasers are somehow tied to how spiritua is absorbed, and Rex and the biker gang are the infiltrators. I feel like this one is a major stretch, but it's a theory at least.
Well, all the infiltrators look extremely tall. Like they're as tall as Michael. I think they're slightly
I'd say they're slightly
shorter
tall,
than Michael.
smaller than Title. Michael.
Than Michael, but only by much. Like when Michael just punches one in the face, he doesn't have to punch down. And all the bikers are female women,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
almost all of them
thank you.
are very. All of them are actually. I don't want to talk about like they're animals, you know.
Well, they're all
Um,
female women. You just clearly
yes,
pointed out.
yeah. And they're much shorter. In fact, when
The
the
shorter
leader
thing is a
Rex,
harder thing to explain, but I think the fact that all the guy infiltrators we saw before were like in suit things,
yeah,
kind of is easy to.
and sorry, oh, been a long day. And she even has to sort of do the thing with the racing the we don't see her race the leg, but do the tiptoeing thing to kiss Basara. And Basara is not seen as overtly tall. I mean, he's not short, but he's not as tall as, say, what's his name, as Michael or as Ray. So or Bephidas.
I get it, I get it. You're saying that they're short. I mean,
Yeah. So
I
no, but to
don't.
give a sense of scale, right?
I understand that
Where
that's a hole.
Basara.
That's a hole in the theory, but then again, rewatching the episode, I'm about to call them Centrati. The alien invaders try to repeatedly grab for the bikers, but they never directly assault them, and the bikers never really do anything to defend themselves. They don't try to run away, they don't do anything. They just kind
Oh,
of
I think
sit there.
no, they were trying to run
No,
away.
they just sit there.
No,
The
no,
bikers
they
who
got
are
in
on
their
their bikes
bikes.
literally do nothing to try and bike away. They just sit there while the guys are reaching them. Every time that they may have tried to do something, because they don't do anything. I'm sitting on that fact. They don't do anything.
Okay.
Basara interrupts to attack the attackers. So, I mean, if they were the infiltrators and they're trying to be withdrawn, because why else are they attacking this out of the way place? Remember, this is the
Mm,
assembly ship.
yeah. I mean, there's an easier way to do that to get extracted that doesn't require having a battle in the middle of the ship, right?
I mean, it's not the middle of
Um,
the ship. It's a side ship. They flow off to a side ship.
no, no, but in the middle of that ship, but all the people watching them,
I mean, sure,
etc.,
this
right?
this theory does not survive, Occam's razor. I'm just saying there are a lot of little small things that you could put together and say maybe
And they also don't have spacesuits. Although here, to
they
be
they
fair,
say they
people,
do. Biker suits are spacesuits in this world, apparently.
yeah, they are spacesuits, yeah, which is
Well, because we
kind of
saw
dumb
them
too.
out
But
in space when they were
yeah, that's right.
in the
Which
very
is
very stupid highway between ships.
yeah, that's. I mean, I may end up liking this more than I do, but there's some.
Oh, I
I mean,
really like it. It's just this is a dumb thing.
yeah, it's just one of those things. It's a point against it, you know.
Let's see. This show is somewhat mindful of what it's doing with Mylene. Rex mentions that Basara is into little girls in reference to Mylene and him hanging out. When they are at the cookout, Mylene says that she'll take a beer, and Ray says no way and tosses her a soda. Adults are treating her as underage, so from a writing perspective, this is a given, regardless of how they dress her or push her romantically.
Yeah.
Follow up to that. I got Gamlin wrong. He said Mylene was 14, then said it didn't matter and that she wasn't his type anyways. If you recall what I said originally during the scene.
Which I
Uh,
fought you over that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't fight too hard. You kind of just agreed with me at the end. But no clue why I said what I thought he said at the time.
It may end up being that he's not into it, and he's agreeing to this because Mylene's mother, Milia, was his. He said he was his flight instructor. So like, okay, she's my senpai, right? So I have to accommodate that.
That's
But
why I
I'm
greenlined him
not.
on the board, by the way.
Yeah. But she might been then in fact get infatuated with him. Like, oh wow, he's so brave and stuff like, which kind of fits being 14, her age, and looking up to an
Don't know.
older
I've never
man,
been a
right?
14-year-old girl.
I mean, you're talking about
Or a
infection,
female woman, as you might say.
well, I'm not gonna live that
Well,
one
you
down,
probably
am I?
will. I'll forget it soon enough. Just not today.
Uh,
Anyway,
yeah.
hit enter on this one, and I'll just read this one out. Gamlin's readout. His birth date is 2026, January 17th. Sex male, weight 179 kilograms. I think I mistyped something there. No, no, sorry. His height is 179 centimeters, weight 71 kilograms. Otherwise, he'd be amazing. Um, Blood type AB, birthplace the solar system, number 4 planet Mars, H.G. Wells City. His
That's on the
hobbies
nose.
are reading, atmospheric diving. I kind of had to interpret. I had to interpret what the last word here was. Bottle shipped crafts slash making. It's a word that starts with a C, ends with aching. I couldn't figure it out on the top of my head, so I just put crafts slash making. Um, Personal history 2038 boards a long distance ship number 37 as an immigrant. 2041, at 15 years of age, enters Air Force School in UN Spacey via special entry. 2043, graduates in 2 years, normally takes 3 years, gets hired as pilot on Diamond Force YF 17, merits, continually wins fighting championship number 5 and number 6. Notes, nothing.
So this year is 1945, 2045,
Yeah,
not
so he's only
1945.
19 years old. He's only 5 years older than
Yeah,
Mylene.
he is technically an adult,
Yeah, yeah, no, it's still
but
illegal.
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
not only
in the
legal.
United States, it's illegal. I don't know about Japan, because again, technically, although I
No,
think
but I'm looking.
technically the age of majority, she's still underage in Japan of
Yeah,
that year
yeah,
this came out. Because age of
yeah.
majority, I think in
I'm
Japan
thinking
was
about more of
16.
the they're both teenagers and therefore it's kind of okay. But this would be like
Well, they're shooting for an
a
arranged marriage, not a.
yeah a middle schooler, young high schooler dating a college guy, right? Who has been like a year or two in college, and that's a bit iffy,
It
right?
depends on
That's
how they're taking it, right? Again, it
yeah.
might not be dating. It could be
Mhm.
arranged marriage, in which case it doesn't matter when you're married, just as long as you don't do anything.
Well, I mean, eventually they're gonna get married, but
Right,
what's
right.
the
But
date
at
for the
that point, it
marriage?
could be. At that point, it could be, 18-year-old Mylene and
Hmm.
24-year-old him. In which case, it's both legal and you both can do whatever the fuck you want. And it's
Yeah,
not that massive of an age gap if you think like Hollywood shit,
yeah.
right? A 70-year-old Hollywood actor marries 30-year-old new actress. Now,
Or 21
I
year
mean,
old.
that's not the best basis to form a it's not that bad argument, but I just mean all they're talking right now is arranged marriage. And arranged marriages aren't that uncommon if you think about it. And
Nope.
an arranged marriage doesn't actually involve doing anything illegal. They could have been arranged marriage when he was 6 and she was 1. It just, you know, don't do anything about it until you're both of the age of majority.
But at the same time, a lot of things can change in 4 or 5 years.
Okay, I mean, they
Or
could do
four.
something stupid on screen and ruin the whole benefit of the doubt that I'm trying to give them. I mean, I'm obviously like, Gamlin, don't be a horrible guy. This is literally just an arranged marriage. She's 14, and you literally know that. You have said it on screen.
Yeah,
Everyone else, every other adult, is treating her like an underage kid. All you have to do is not be a creep. And you haven't
yeah.
been a creep so far. You literally said she's 14. She's not my type anyway. I don't know why your flight instructor is trying to set you up, but it still seems like it's on the up and up. She's not saying, hey, date my daughter. She's saying, hey, let's do an arranged marriage. And I don't know why either. What's the benefit?
I think that she sees. Well, remember that this Milia is far more. The Milia we met in SCF-1 was still very new to the whole human society thing. She now is the mayor of this, of the city, so she has political clout. And I think what she wants to do is have, she's now doing the whole matriarch thing. We don't know her other. Well, at least she has one other daughter. Well, we don't know where she's at, if she's even alive. I kind of do, but that's a video game thing, which
Too
I'm
many
not getting
games to
into.
toss the baby.
Yeah, yeah, and or she has even more siblings. We don't see that either. So maybe she's doing the whole, yes, I am the matriarch of an important family. Remember, they're some of they're the heroes of the war, Space War 1. I mean, not as perhaps, frontline as Hikaru or Mingmei
I
or
would argue Max is pretty front line when it comes to the
yeah.
war.
But remember, she was the one that literally let their marriage was the whole thing about, hey, we can actually live together and all that, right? So my guess is she's doing the matriarch thing, right? The genius family or the Milia. I don't want her
I
last
mean,
family.
also
Even
arguably, Gamlin is a genius. He graduated early from the academy.
Yeah, so she's like, I need to have my daughter have good prospects, right? And I want to lock them down. And I know this young man, right? And maybe she wants him to be part of the family too, because they have that personal relationship, right? Uh,
I mean, they're arguing about if they're getting divorced or not. It doesn't seem like the family. I don't know. My angle on
they,
this is more so you do an arranged marriage to like I don't know political mechanizations is why it enters my
I
mind.
mean, well, actually having an upcoming elite ace pilot in a society that clearly, I mean, elite ace pilots here most are like, I think they're like starship captains in Star Trek, right? Clearly they're not rich and powerful, but they're, oh wow, you're a starship captain. Oh hey, you're an ace pilot, like Hikaru, like Max, like Milia, right? You're the heroes of the story, right?
I don't
I mean,
know. Literally, Mylene tells Basara, "Yeah, my parents are ace pilots," and he
oh,
doesn't
she
seem to
says,
give a shit.
no, but she says it with pride, like, yeah, because he's like, oh, how do you know how to flight this, fly the aircraft? And she's like, of course I do, because my the information is I learned it from my parents, and she's only 14, so being a kick-ass mega pilot is supposed to be, a thing
I
that
mean,
you
that
get,
and the fact that Gamlin gets no respect from the whole Basara angle.
I mean, Basara's an asshole when it
Well,
comes to
no,
this
no, I
stuff.
mean
She
like
doesn't
from
care about
Max
this.
when he's investigating the whole Basara shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So the evidence does not stand that just because he's an ace pilot would make him a good political prospect for your daughter's arranged
Also,
marriage.
we'd also don't know his family background, right?
He's
I
an
mean, we
immigrant.
know he's more. Yeah.
I mean, they specifically list that he joined this thing as an immigrant, which means that his family either he must have gotten kicked out of his family, or his family isn't doing too well, or
I mean, he could have chose to be an immigrant. I mean, he could have been sent to this. He could have actually been done the thing where you send your kid to where you think is going to have high prospects,
I guess it
right? So they
depends on what
send
your
them to.
definition of immigrant is in this respect. Because I'm thinking we're
Yeah,
not thinking the same.
I think all of them are immigrants. Everybody here is
That's
an
what I'm saying.
immigrant,
Technically, I
right?
think that's what you're thinking. In that
Yeah,
case, why would you even list that? Because technically, everybody on the ship is an immigrant. Why put that on the paper?
yeah. But remember, that's part of the UN, the larger UN spacey tracking, bureaucracy. Like, yes, where they are. Oh, they're in an immigration ship. Immigrant, right? It's just a
Well, it also
we
says
have to
he
put
joined.
something.
Well, it also says he joined the ship as an immigrant, which implies he was an immigrant when he joined, not because he joined. The use of
Why would
as change, right there, right? Boards a long
join?
distance ship as an immigrant.
I guess. I mean, maybe be like that's the equivalent of a civilian, right?
Well, I don't know what you would
Not
be an
not
immigrant
mili-
from anyway.
from Mars. I mean, if it's an immigration ship going to explore a new colony, you're an immigrant, right?
Well,
You're
that
immigrating
assumes
to.
that you see the problem here is yeah. What was his name from Plus?
Isamu?
Yeah, that assumes the whole
Isamu.
Osamu thing. Remember, we found out that
He
Osamu was actually uh, lived on Earth. So
and
he,
then he
yeah,
immigrated.
he was from Eden, went to Earth, immigrated to Earth, then got
No, no, no.
sent back to Eden.
He was from Earth,
Oh, right, right.
and
So
he
reverse
was
that. He
Earth,
was
and then
from Earth, went to Eden, then
to Eden,
left to go
joined.
the rest of you in
No, he
Spacey. No, because
yeah,
he
whatever the
had to
deployment.
leave. He had to leave as part of
Yeah,
his deployment and whatnot.
yeah.
And then came back to Eden.
Mm.
So you assume that he immigrated from Mars, but we don't fucking know. The dude could have been traveling. Uh, what? Even 5 years ago, we had all these listings for locations that people lived in across the galaxy. It's
Right.
crazy that they just had him in Mars. They could have said any random place. I guess they wanted to make it terrestrial. I guess it's possible that we built all these ships in the solar system.
I mean, probably the first wave certainly was built in the solar
Well, I
system.
don't know.
After
We're in the
that,
first
they would
wave
have.
with 37 ships in.
No, I mean the first wave is the Mega Road.
Well, yeah, but that was 2012. We're 20. I don't know when these ships launched. We're gonna learn again, I guess, in the intro.
2030, I think it's at Macross 7 is set to
Right,
launch.
so we're not in the
And
first wave. We're well outside the first wave. We're 18 years outside the first wave.
I mean, probably
Also,
Earth has the probably also Earth has the original Centrati satellite, fabrication satellite, and it would make sense that they would have the most developed facilities on Earth, being like the core of of humanity and the UN spacey government.
it
And
depends.
so,
Um, well, I was gonna say that remember that these ships are also so much larger than the Mega Road is, according to the
hmm
intro.
yeah.
I'd also argue about it being more developed, considering it had to be redeveloped from the end of the war, versus any other new colony you start would have the possibility of, you know, we can pre-plan everything from the get-go, versus everything on Earth had to be set up with like survivors and refugees in mind. So you probably had to build fast and with what you had, versus again setting up a new colony from the get-go with everything planned in mind.
Yeah, but it takes time to okay, you have the planning, but it takes time for you to settle and build those
Well, that's why
things.
you come with a generational ship. You don't have to do
Yeah.
everything at once. You can build everything and then move everybody in as needed. Or, God forbid, you just land the generational ship and expand from there. Take things apart, use it as new resources.
But I mean, I think that Earth would still be the most established place. You know, you have ships, you have people, and that's where you first would have the wave of people. Just the ability to rebuild Earth would require a lot of people, right? They're rebuilding population, and then those populations would be the ones that go out into the
I
galaxy,
think that's
right?
also an argument that I had about why this was so weird that we, expanded so quickly. Like, what is it? It's 18 years after, um, basically Mega
20,
Road One goes out.
20,
So
yeah, 2012 to
just say 20
2045.
years
Yes.
20 years after Earth gets decimated, right? And all we have is 50,000, 70,000 ish people left in the human
Plus
population.
Centrati. Plus Centrati.
Yeah, but I guess we can breed with them. Um, well, I don't
And
know,
the
man.
intro specifically says, yes, we micronize most, not all, apparently.
Yeah, I
Yes,
guess my
but we have.
argument then is that we should have so many more half Centrati than we actually see. We see a lot of humans, when in fact it should be like half and half. I feel like to have
Yeah.
been
So
to have
also,
in
they,
20 years build a bunch of ships. What was it? 37 of them, in fact, that hold 1 million people apiece. When our base breeding pool is 70,000 humans and whatever Zentradi were there.
yes, but also the implication this is they don't mention this in this, but it's part of the canon, so I can say it. Is that they use quite a bit of cloning uh,
I was
to.
I was doing that thing where I closed my eyes and try to make my head sound as thick with pressure as I can, just in case I needed to mute you internally. It's like, oh, he's
No, I
gonna
mean
say
we talked
something.
about we talked a bit about this before, not
We
probably
we
not on
talked about it
screen.
as a possibility,
Yeah,
because I think we talked about specifically how Zentradi could move from a giant body to a small body without any base body to like not a consciousness transfer. They would have to like full on create a new thing
yeah.
because otherwise they would need a whole supply of their old bodies that they'd have to have forgotten about. You know. So yeah,
So there's that. And we
but
did see in well, yeah, we would need also. You're right, and we need more centrality because literally in SCF1 there were cities that were mostly centrality, mostly micronized, like entire cities. Like, yeah, here's a city. That's your city. The centrality have a
I
city,
mean,
right?
for me, it's
And
more
they,
about the base breeding pool being so small on the human side versus again 18 years later, 20 years later, we're sending out ships of 1 million people apiece, which is what that's what 15 no 12 times the size of the entire human population 18 years ago.
yeah,
People are
it's
just
pretty
doing nothing
explosive.
but fucking. Is all I'm saying.
Which probably means that Melia and Genius probably have like 7 or 8 children, and that's
Look,
still
I'm gonna put
cool.
this out there as just another thing that I shouldn't know, but that I do know, is that they have like 12, 20 kids, but none of them are
Yeah,
gonna show up in the show except for a couple, because they're all
yeah.
game kids.
Anyway, yeah, that's any more note? And any more
No,
notes?
no, my transcript of his paper as it came out the fax machine was the last thing I was gonna take a picture, but they did it sideways at the screen. I thought, man, this is
Yeah.
just gonna be weird. It's gonna be a bunch of jagged edge trying to cut out the
Yeah,
paper.
I did. I kind of like it's very. I like that it's very retro futuristic. It's like, oh, this is from the 1990s, right?
It's
Uh,
not though. It's
it
not
is
red. It's
because
of its time. Remember, this was in the 90s, and
yeah, but
Japan
for
is very
us,
well. No, Japan itself is very retro when it comes to what they use in their own modern technology. You go to Japan
mhm,
right now and still have to use a fax machine.
yes, and I still know businesses use fast machines, but the thing is that you would. It's retrofuturism for us today in closer to the year that this is supposed to be, which is 2045. We're in 2024. In that they predicted that you would have this giant flat screen on as a TV and communication device, right?
Yeah, like
And it would
Spaceballs,
be attached to a fax machine,
like
right? Like, yeah,
Spaceballs or Back to the Future 2.
Babylon 5 even did that with like there were instant papers. People would just get the papers and then recycle
Oh
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, there was also a game which is it was an adventure game, a detective game in the late 1980s, early 90s, which did that as well. Where you're basically in your car, you had a fax machine, so when somebody sends you a message,
Dick
they will have
Tracy.
video screens. No, it's a
I know you
overkill.
said
No,
a
it's
game, but I'm pretty sure Dick Tracy also got like shit in his
yeah.
car. He also had that watch with a TV in it.
Yeah, but
Not
it's basically it's a
TV.
detective game. It's a series of games actually that when the Commodore 64, PC, and all that. And it's a detective. I know the first one is about mutants and there's a post-war apocalypse and he has a flying car and all that. Uh, it's Moon something. I mean, it's if you look at GOG, it's very prominent, but and that's one of the things that in the 80s, like because the
You
funny
mean
thing
like a
was that
King's Quest style games?
yeah, it was supposed to be full motion video and PC. It was one of those FMV's action
Yeah,
adventures.
like Wing Commander.
But yeah, but in earlier games, they couldn't do, especially in machines like the Commodore 64, they couldn't do full motion video because they would, so they would have like frozen faces, like
The only
the
full
face would
motion
change.
video detective game that's coming to my head is Ripper, and I don't think you're talking about Ripper.
No, it's a sci-fi game. I don't know if Ripper it
Well,
is.
yeah, Ripper's sci-fi. It's literally Jack the Ripper in a VR virtual environment. He kills you in the virtual environment, and you die, what, days later? Because
It's
whatever
a
he does to you actually happens to your actual body.
yeah.
That or I guess Phantasmagoria technically, but that's not a sci-fi.
No,
Well, I guess
no.
technically it kind of is because it's alien related or dimensional. Yes, I don't know. Some people consider aliens and other dimensional creatures to be also aliens. Half-Life says they're aliens. But you said moon, and I'm not thinking anything moon.
Yeah. Master
I've seen quite a few full motion video games just in let's plays and shit,
2010, yeah.
but I don't know any detective ones. Again, except for
I play
Ripper,
that.
but that's actually not a
Yeah.
detective. He's a news reporter guy. Christopher Walken is the detective.
I'm sure I'll find it eventually because there's a bunch of them here. So, and I'm sure it's on GOG anyway. But post-apocalyptic. If Chad, if you remember any post-apocalyptic venture series, FMVs from the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s, put it in the comments. Yeah, because right now I can't find it. I'm sure I'll find it eventually, but not that important. But that's one of the things that they did was like, oh, we're gonna have fax machines in our cars. So when somebody's, oh, send me that information, they'll fax it in and you would pick it up, and it was part of the inventory and everything else. So yeah, kind of remind me of that.
Yeah. Well, I tried looking it
Overkill
up
it.
and I couldn't. Tex Murphy?
Tex Murphy, yeah, the Tex Murphy series.
I'll go
That
figure. The
was the one.
second thing literally on my list. Night Trap? No, it's not Night Trap.
Yeah,
Tex Murphy. Um, hold on here.
Jesus
That
Christ.
is. That's not Tex Murphy, is it?
Yeah. Well, they have the latest one. They try to revive it.
Well, I saw
Yeah,
that.
this is the Tesla effect. Yeah,
I
this is Tex Murphy, but this is the remake they made a couple of like
Oh,
a
I saw a
decade.
playthrough of that game before. I think it was Jesse
Yeah.
Cox playing it. I saw it. It's like, oh, that
Hmm.
looks pretty fun. No, I saw that image. I just looked at FMV Detective, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, that looks like a detective. Let me see if that's the game he's talking about.
Yeah, it's Texas. I played the Mean Streets version of it, which was the first one. The year three, Nemesis Murphy arriving as in San Francisco to be hired to a beautiful daughter of a university professor to uncover the fact about his death, et cetera, et cetera. And in the bundle that they have in GOG, they have the first two adventures. But I
Well, yeah, I
remember,
saw Tesla Effects. I just looked up Tex Murphy, Jesse Cox. He played it in 2014.
yeah,
So anybody else wanting to watch a playthrough of Tex Murphy that I would recommend, there's a Jesse Cox Tesla Effect. Just look that up.
yeah, I was talking, yeah, Under a Killing Moon. It's the game I was thinking, but
That's the only Tex
there's
Murphy I've ever seen. So,
yeah,
we're getting a bit off track here. I
yeah.
say, I say we just wrap up the discussion and we get right
Hmm.
into the episode.
Let's do that.
All right.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
on top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
Unfiltered.
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Again, it is my favorite soundtrack of any Macross. Although I will say, after I noticed the purple panorama of the Galaxy Highway, I paid more attention to the opening, and there is nothing else to pull from it. I specifically looked for the scene where Basara's YF-19, like even this, where their faces crossed, they turn at helmets. Or, I'm sorry, the heads of their ships. Nothing there. There's going to be a scene where his ship flies into a background of burning images. I thought maybe something was there. Nope. Think that's Flower Girl, though. Thought possibly there's something here with the red and the quick flash. Nope. It's nothing. It's just a bunch of images that meant nothing to me. Thought maybe the seventh moon had something to do with that system that they investigated the fourth planet for. Obviously, I've got nothing to work with there. This is the one I'm talking about, the birding. It's like, oh, maybe the Flower Girl is in there somewhere. Nope, nothing. Just saying, I've done my research, and I've come back with nothing.
See, they talk about the highway, but you can actually see, like, between the stars, you can actually see dark areas, right?
Sorry, we just spent all that time reading the thing, and the episode fucking starts with it. But yeah, no, I think we mentioned that before. They have to be flying in pretty tight formation, or pretty constant formation, always. for those lines to constantly line up between the ships.
Yeah.
If memory serves, this episode did not look promising. Supposed to be the vacation ship or something like that?
Yeah.
Calm something. Got that wrong.
Summer exit. You look like a giant conch shell. Or seashell. That must be an artificial wave pool, I guess.
I don't know, I'm thinking of the radiation! Sorry. Gundam Seed with their, like, vertical, places to live in. And the fact that it's like a mountain in the middle and like an ocean around the mountain.
Hey, we see her wearing something different, a bikini this time, and a floaty.
Well, it's more so that she's not drumming.
Yeah. I actually like her, even though she doesn't say anything. The only thing she does is drumming. Yeah.
I mean, she's not drumming now.
No.
That's the weirdest thing.
Oh, that's a classic 90s jumper thing.
I guess you can't have a hot day at the beach if the whole place is artificial.
Yeah. Seems not enough for people to get suntans.
Yeah. Way too big for the car.
She's complaining about not having money, and then, you know, her mom comes into the rescue, right?
Well, remember, she said she didn't want that before. She ran away from home and she doesn't want other people to have to take care of her. BF11.
Yeah, that was a mech that Isamu was flying originally in the opening. Was a VF-11. Not the right crowd for this, that's for sure.
Playing it for all types. Gotta find the right chord melody or chord progression. Never a good band member. Always like the lead band member, but you know, playing as part of a group is part of being in a band. Playing a dance. There's also the fact that she's on every ship that they go to.
Yeah. I mean, she seems to be like a groupie, basically.
I mean, yeah, it's not impossible that she could just be following them from ship to ship. But the fact that nobody else also notices her and she just stands out in whatever crowd that she's in, I think she's dead.
うるせえな。俺は歌いたい歌を歌うんだよ。
ファイヤーはあんたのためのバンドじゃないのよ。
じゃあなんだよ。
みんなのためのバンドでしょ。
こんな仕事取ってくるから悪いんだろ。
もう自分勝手無責任ろくでなしナスピーマン。少しはバンドのことを考えたら。
まあいいから海水浴でもしようぜ。
Why? It seems like you want to fish.
恋をするように声を重ねればキス。私のハートは
Here's my lead
こ
song.
こにあるよいつだって。
God damn it, show. She's 14.
だけど君の
I used to be fair, Macross Plus had very uncomfortable subject matters. This one's putting it on screen.
海へ行かないのか。
昼寝する。
ああ。
He's such a brat, basically. Oh, she's having a good time, so that's good.
There we go.
Yeah, no, she's back to drumming.
That's
Wow,
the
that's
fetus that we know.
That's a very nice swimsuit. Oh, we still don't know what that thing is exactly. Is it a
It's
robot?
just
Is it
the
an alien?
mascot pet thing for the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Of course, it's
there he is.
Galen, because all the main characters couldn't help but be here in the same place.
お座りください。すぐに分かりましたか。
もう怪我の方はよろしいんですか。
こんなもの怪我のうちに入りませんよ。いらっしゃいませ。
はい、お嬢様はガブリン様と二人きりでデート。いや、これまたお嬢様の水着姿がまた何とも言えず。
Michael.
失礼しました。
Oh, come on.
Okay. Well,
You should
話
apologize.
は弾んでいるようです、ミリア様。
Oh,
どうですか、学校の方は。
yeah.
雰囲気がのん
Joe's
びり
kind of
してます
losing me now.
あそこはお嬢様学校なんでしょ。
そうみたいですわ。
There's a difference between fan service with an adult and fan
それより
service with
ガ
a
ムリンさんのお仕
girl
事
you
のお
keep
話聞きたい
calling
です。
underage.
面白い話なんかありませんよ。
大変
and
なん
it's
で
the
しょう
daughter of your
本当に
boss.
いや、
I think that's just
Why is
added
he-
information. It's not
最
even.
近戦闘中邪魔が入ることがあり
It's
ます
worse enough.
He does apologize, and then he goes back into it.
戦闘中ですか。
ええ、バカにしているというか、冗談じゃありません。
そうですよね。冗談じゃないですよね。
え
許せないですよね。
え、え
そういうのは一度やっちゃえばいいんじゃないですか。
は？
そうですよ。痛い目に遭わせるべきです。そういうのはむちゃくちゃにやっちゃうべきです。ギタンギタンに。
え、過激だな、ミレーヌさんは。
私も自分勝手な人って大嫌いなもので。
どうです？この後ゆっくりお食事でも。空いているんでしょ？
そろそろね。
So you just slap me in the back of the head?
今の方は。
Yeah.
学校
Damn,
の
she's
先輩な
tall
ん
too.
ですよ。
If you're gonna do fan service, she's perfect right there. She's Amazonian.
I mean,
Let's
she is
do
the
that.
tallest person in the group. I think I brought this up before when the fangirl said, "Oh, Basara, he's tall," and he's standing next to Ray and the fetus, and they're both way taller than he is. They've even stopped giving these guys motivation for what they do. They just fucking show up. Before Lord whatever Dragon Pike, whatever it was, had to give them information first.
戦装備はインパクト B。
了解。
We reuse a lot of shots in this show too, I'm noticing.
Yeah, yeah. At least we're seeing these guys actually are more effective against the attackers because
艦長、
Real secured.
SD 地点の空間装置が破壊されました。
何？
第14から19ブロックの気圧レベル4まで低下。
気温も低下中。このままでは氷点下まで。モニター回します。
A3 エリアを直ちに封鎖。関係セクションに通達。
了解。
Also, I guess we just decided every ship needs bridge bunnies. Oh, they have their own transition screen, though. Yeah, it was good enough for the SDF Macross. It was good for the rest of them.
緊急非常事態発生。A3 エリアは封鎖されます。直ちに避難してください。繰り返します。緊急非常事態発生。A3 エリアは封鎖されます。
レームさん。
避難してください。A3 エリアは完全封鎖されます。
See, that's a better dome than the other one. The other ones that come down like a shell. That thing is like...
Good dome. Hey, we don't know the joke of that.
I don't.
Yeah.
来やがったな。
It also reinforces itself. Layers over layers.
ミレームさん。ミレームさん。
Crocs, my dude. Wearing Crocs.
ガムリンかリビエラにいるんだろう。
はい。
結果は通した。出撃命令が出た。お前はそこに配備されている VF11 で出撃しろ。その後合流する。
了解。
Also, every one of these ships has their own squadrons, apparently.
出ていくの？
Seems
当たり
so.
前だろ。早く行かないとシャッター閉まっちまうしな。
I mean, it makes sense in case you get, like, isolated or something.
グーババ待ちなさい。そっち行っちゃダメ。
No, no
Oh, he's
hurry.
calm
Just
on
under
him. I
attack.
like it.
グーババ待ちなさい。
Got green
ほら
feet.
しっかり捕まえてろよ。
ありがとう。
And a tail.
早くしないと閉まっちまうぞ。
Nice, that shot from the opening. Ah, Bowman could have gotten through here.
A3 エリア完全封鎖終了。
A3 エリア気圧レベル2。気温マイナス4度 C。なお低下中。
思っていた以上に進行が早かったな。
Reminds me of Rendezvous with
ダ
Ranma.
メだ。閉じ込められちまった。
ごめん。
The description of the place when they first get into it before it starts melting.
だってグババが。
そもそもこんなとこに来なきゃ平気だったんだ。
何よそれ。私のせいだって言うわけ？
まあな。
何よもう文句ばっかり言って。せっかく取ってきた仕事なのに。
仕事取ってくんならそれなりの仕事取ってこいよ。
何よそ
Yeah,
れ。
how dare we perform on a resort
め
ship?
ちゃくちゃにして。
めちゃくちゃかどうかわかんねえだろ。
The one gig that made the most sense out of all the gigs you've had so
結局だ
far.
からはそう。自分さえ良ければ人のことなんか全然考えようともしないんだから。無神経。
あのな。
無責任、自分勝手、強情、白状者。喧嘩なんかしてる場合じゃないみたい。
Oh, the flowers wilted.
Yeah, because she's dead.
え
Oh,
ミレーム
come
と
on.
バサラがいない
Give me evidence to the contrary. It's all I need.
Well, the flowers were alive before that, so they wilted. If she were dead, they were either always wilted or always alive.
She's actually always bringing different flowers, so...
鳥肌立ちっぱなしよ。
Why would a ghost change flowers?
The flowers people drop on her grave. She's bringing them every time.
何考えてんのよ。戦闘中には歌うし、こんな時にも歌うし。
歌えば心が熱くなる。自然と体も燃えてくる。
You sang better.
このまま凍え死ぬよりはマシだろ。ここは空飛べパラダイス。忘れかけてるエナジー。No hurry up。取り戻そうぜ。No more wasting time。
I in fact think you're using up more of your energy by doing this.
Yeah, but that's his one gimmick. He just sings. That's it. I mean, he's a good fighter, but that seems to be his gimmick.
I mean, he's not actually a good fighter. Both times he's taken anybody out, he used missiles that seem to home in on a target.
I mean, all missiles seem to hang out on the target, so.
I guess technically that's the difference between a rocket and a missile. I'm just saying, he's not doing most of the work.
Himself killed either, so.
And I guess this is where Gamblin shows that he's just a better pilot and that he can do things in a, what, a YF 9? No,
11.
17?
11.
No, I'm saying before
Uh-huh.
YF 17 that he can do in a YF 11 as well. That it doesn't matter what thing he's using. Whereas Basara needs the YF 19 with its shields and everything. I don't think I wrote it out before, but when he was looking up his own file on his computer a couple episodes back, it listed that Gamblin does a YF-17.
Okay, this is the trap in the ship episode from SEF1. You know, the one where they go to the movie, Tripod
Yeah,
Long.
with him and M
Misa.
name. Yeah, Misa. Sorry, so everyone's some M name now. We have Amelia, Mylene. Trying to remember Misa. The other really famous singer whose name is escaping me for some reason. Min May. They're all M names.
Well, Lin Min May, yeah.
Well, yeah, but Min May is what she's known by. No one calls her Lin.
Oh, we have the air duct big enough for him.
Oh no. I really liked that shirt. I at least like that this one also has multiple singers. Last two episodes they've shown she's good at singing too. Min May, I'm sorry, I say Macross, but just all Min May. I mean, it gives some variety. I mean, right now it's a variety of two, but it's a possibility of two different solos and duets. Hang on, Mylene, who was entirely possible to fit through that vent. Could have just come with me. Hey, remember how there was like 26 different doors that came down?
Yeah, we're setting up the romantic triangle for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I already had that on the board. There's literally arrows on there.
They reuse some animation, but the quality of this episode was a little bit higher than we've seen a couple of before. They actually put in the and they beat the bad guys too. And the bad guys didn't get any spiritual that we saw. So
I don't see. Yeah, I don't see them trying though. Like I said, they used to give Giggle a reason to be here. Now he just fucking shows up and attacks every so random.
飛んだ歌の特訓になっちゃった。
しかも猛特訓な。
マネージャー？
ライブステージのことなんだけど。
ああ、それで
It didn't pay for the amount of damage you did to the ship.
いやー、大好評でね。もうワンステージ追加だよ。まだ声は出るよな。
私のハートはここにあるよ、いつだって。だけど君の
See, where did she go? Nowhere. She's been here the whole time.
No, she was also in the bunker with them, with the rest of the band.
Well, she appears wherever else people are. That's how ghosts work.
あのバサラが一緒に。
Well, you're rolling your eyes now, but when I'm right, you're gonna have nothing to say.
I'm gonna call out this show if that's what it is. I'm just like, this is stupid.
No,
Just
it's
don't.
stupid because I figured it out in the first 10 episodes. Hell, I think I called it in the first 5 episodes. It's in the opening, for God's sakes. Ghost hand comes down on Basara.
But is it her hand?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Also, because
Ah.
she's in the crossing the street motif and they don't look at her, she just walks on, and then Gamlin and Basara both look at each other.
Yeah, but in that setup, Gamlin's looking one way, Basara's looking the other, and she's crossing there. And then they switch to the band on one hand and the military, well, Florimilia in the other one.
Yeah. I'm saying she represents something. She's not a person. In the legal way that corpses are no longer people. I think she represents something that happened in the past, for which Basara is trying to either make amends for or find a solution to. It's entirely possible as well that she's the former band member. Which is, I'm throwing that out there until it turns out that that former band member shows off in a one-off episode. You know, she's our Hollywood actress.
バサラ、初めてのレコーディングなのよ。ディレクターと喧嘩しないで。
黙ってろ。ミサイルより爆発力のあるサウンド、そいつが問題なんだ。
わかんない。
次回、バージンボンバー、過激にファイヤー。
Searching Bomber. Hey, that's an interesting episode. Title.
I get spoiled for the episode names only because when I'm making the schedule to put out in the channels and everything, I've got to, like, what's episode 14 called? What's episode 15 called? It's like, okay, well, this looks unfortunate. I mean,
So that was that episode.
yeah, I mean, it was better than I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be an absolutely nothing episode.
Yeah,
And, I mean,
it was fine, but it feels a bit of a filler thing, right? It's like,
Oh, the unfortunate bit that we probably know that there's no filler. This was all meant to be. I mean, it's supposed to be the solidification, I guess, of Basara and Mylene's relationship. Because so far it's been kind of like she's been chasing after him, but this is the first time he had to really save her.
and that Basara is not as selfish as she claims him to be, but it's more like,
Oh, he is.
would I say he? No, I think he's more on the spectrum. If we were talking, 21st
Wow, that's a
century, 'cause,
claim.
I mean, I'm sure somebody has said that, but I'm not the first one to say it, because he seems more like he's so focused on his music.
I'm sure
that he
somebody
finds
has
it-
culd this guy a hard R word, if anyone's to be
Yeah,
believed.
I would not have used that term. I'm not going that far, and no, I would not use it.
Well, I'm
because-
definitely sure somebody has. Somebody didn't like
Yeah.
this show and saw this character and said,
yeah.
this guy is super R-worded.
Yeah, I would more say that he's hyper. He has a hyper focus, right? And that hyper focus is his music, and and maybe he's someone who has never really. Nobody's really been challenged him before, right? That's also nobody's. Mylene kind of does, but not really. So it's like it could be a situation where both he's hyper focused in his music, and it seems to be working out because their career's improving. Right? He's like, I'm not gonna change the way I do things. This has worked for me. And then probably we're gonna get to a point where it's like, yeah, it's not working for you anymore. Which is what happened with the fighter, right? He's now has to use at least twice. He used deadly force. Hasn't killed anybody, but he, missiles were exploding. So it's like, oh, you made me do this, but he's had to like, yeah, maybe things are not the way I expected. There's the illusion of what he wants to do and the reality he has to face.
I don't
And
know.
we
When you
haven't
talk about
really gone into that yet.
hyper-focus, the fetus is the one that's hyper-focused. All she does is, the drum thing.
I mean, you can have different.
Basara acts like with a
Form.
childlike mentality.
I mean, yeah.
How
old
dare
is
you
Basara? We don't
tell
know.
me I do what I want to do, right? And he lives in his own little broken down apartment. The same way that Mylene runs away and wants to do whatever she wants to do.
Although he doesn't live alone in that building, though, because
I
across
don't know. Literally, you think Ray
No,
lives there?
Ray.
No, you
Yeah,
think
Ray
Ray lives
lives
there, but remember Mylene had Ray walk her home before, and she stayed at Ray's place before, which seemed to be in a different building. It could be that Ray just has something there. We don't know what Ray's deal is yet.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know what Ray's deal here is. Well, he was doing the old man fishing thing. It's like, oh yeah, I'm here to fish.
I mean,
this is
he
the
probably has an old backstory.
Yeah, which will eventually get when he dies. Is like, oh, remember Ray? Ray, this was the deal with Ray. Now he's dead.
Never
So,
got his
oops.
pineapple salad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything you want to say before we wrap up here?
Yeah, dude. Michael, don't excuse yourself about being a perv and then go back to perving in a 14-year-old. Don't do that.
We can only hope that
no.
he turns out to be a villain at some point.
He seems to be too.
So he
goofy
gets
to be
his
a villain,
just
but-
desserts, you know.
Well, I mean, a slap in the face would be something that would fix it. I
No,
think.
no, I don't think there's any. Look, there's a crime he's committing right now, and I don't think
yeah.
we want to give him a slap on the wrists. We
On
want
the
him.
face. I didn't say in the front.
No, yeah. I mean, getting slapped in the face is literally a slap on the wrists when it comes to legality. We want something worse to happen to a person like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stone-Faced Reactions. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stone-Faced Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?